Hello, I'm Aaron Dave from MakeCrazyDays.org. For Christmas, my wife received a winemaking kit, and we bottled her first batch just recently. So I figured some wine racks would be a great way for her to decoratively display some of the products she made with that. If you're interested in seeing how these wine racks were made, stick around. The first step was to find a Forstner bit which fit the wine bottle neck best. The two closest were selected. A drill press was used to create a test hole with each bit in a cutoff of the same thickness as the project would. A 16-degree incline with the hole is required to get the bottle to lay horizontal. Back at the drill press, the 16-degree incline is rigged up and another hole is drilled to verify that the angle is correct. Sure enough, back at the test jig, the bottle is horizontal. The bottle is used to set the width of the board which will be used for the rack itself. A little padding of about 1/4 inch on either side is provided to keep the bottle off the wall. Miter saw montage! The angle of the saw is set at 22.5 degrees. Each cut is done with stop blocks for reproducibility. Most of the rack is made of exactly the same parts: trapezoid pieces which will get the bottle holes, parallelogram to offset the bottle holders, and 2 small trapezoids at the top and the bottom. A more sophisticated jig is built here to hold the bottle holders while having the holes bored. Cleaning the sawdust out of the mating piece of the jig was necessary to keep each hole accurate. Using the tape technique for mitered corners, tape is applied to the outside of each joint. Only 2 pieces at a time could be worked with, so staying organized was critical. After taping up each pair, glue is spread liberally since it's an end-grain glue joint, and smoothed out. Then electrical tape was used for clamping pressure, since it's stretchy. Progressively larger pieces were glued up in the same way, just more electrical tape was required to wrap the whole combined pieces. Material for the splines were ripped from some narrow pieces of walnut I had laying around the shop. A dado stack was set up just a hair thinner than the thickness of the spline material. The splines were cut to rough length in a bit of a trapezoid shape. Next, the splines were sanded down so there would be a snug fit in the dados. Glue was drizzled into the dado and spread with a narrow piece of scrap to get all the surface area. The spline was then pressed into the dado, and the squeeze-out was wiped away. Clamps were applied with cowls to protect the rack itself. A couple per spline seemed sufficient. block plane was used to remove the extra height of the splines. Little spiral walnut towers were my reward. The ends of the spines were removed with a flush cut saw. Sanding proved challenging with this project. The concave nature of the rack was slightly narrower than my palm sander, so I was using the edge a lot and doing a fair bit of hand sanding. For the bottle holders, I used the smallest drum from my drill press drum sander to hand sand. The backs of the rack were glued up with narrow strips of walnut sandwiched in wider red oak, then face jointed and planed to thickness. The back reflected a little of the shape of the rack component by having the ends partially trimmed at a 22.5-degree angle. It seemed like a nice accent. Yay! More sanding! If I had to suffer through it, you do too. Holes were then pre-drilled for attaching the rack to the backs, then countersunk on the back. Somewhere in my shop there's a 1/2-inch Forstner bit. Where? No idea. So a brad point bit was used to half drill a hole for mounting, which will take a 1/2-inch walnut dowel. And drill montage! Wood screws are used to attach the wine rack to the back. Wood glue is dabbed on the pieces which do not have a screw, and the screws are sunk. The project is finished off camera with a couple coats of shellac. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video of the making of these wine racks. It was definitely a challenging project on certain aspects, such as getting all these angles to line up nicely across the length of it, and also putting in the splines along here. I basically had to make this project twice because I had two of these entire components put together. The first one I discovered I had accidentally turned one of the angles upside down here for holding the bottle, and on another one it had actually fallen off the table saw while I was making a cut on another piece, and the spline broke right along the joint. Obviously the splines were not deep enough. So in this version the splines actually go a little bit deeper than the original design. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any future projects. Well, thank you for watching, and God bless.